She's over here.
Roll call done.
I'm over here.
And then I'll turn it over to you, Ms. Heather, on 101 fund.
These are pages 1 through 10. These are the final year-end amendments. The reason notice isn't given earlier on these are the final year-end amendments that we wait to run after all the final payrolls are in. County's final payroll was actually just run this morning. So I'll go through them. First 2 pages basically are just line item transfers, trying to cover any overages in certain areas that we have to cover for state audit requirements. First one, moving money mainly for the Safe Baby Care Grant Program. That's what all the 66s are, just lining it up with the final grant amendments, and then we're done in June. And the second one there, that is just a correction. We're moving money from part-time personnel for courthouse security into regular part-time personnel, and money that instead of classifying it as overtime pay, we're classifying it as other salaries and wages, and that is under a grant program that we have that's cost center 102 there. The third one for the jail, this is moving money. We had excess savings in the payroll line item for correctional officers, so we're moving $40,000 there into the medical and dental services. That's what we use to pay the inmate medical bills. Right now we are a little over, so we're trying to put as much as we can in case there's any surprises. We tend to get bills going into July and August that still go back to this year that we're in as of today. And the other $57,000, that is just a cost center correction, moving it to cost center 98. The last one on that page, that is moving, there's a little overage in EMA. That's the emergency management, the dispatchers, moving money from his part-time personnel to cover the overages in the regular and the overtime line items. Any questions on page 1? Page 2, moving still with line item transfers. The first one up there, that is the DGA grant. That is lining up the DGA grant. Did a final grant revision just last week, so that represents the line items they moved around for that. The next one is the library. She had a little bit of savings in payroll. That's at $37.53. She's wanting to move that with the little bit in librarians and overtime into books so that she can make her last entries here to meet her maintenance of effort. The library is one that has to spend all the dollars that we give them, so we try to move those monies at the end of the year. Then the next one after that, other social cultural, that's the LEAPS grant. There again, that was a grant revision just done in June, so we're lining it up with them. And the last one is just a revenue line item reclassification instead of, that's the $14,000 from Pike County. State audit wants us to classify that as contributions instead of a state litter grant. Any questions on that? Page 3, County General 101. This one, first one there, that is, we had some overages in health insurance. As a total, I think the county was about $30,000 over from original budget in health insurance, and that only represented a price increase mid-year and then people changing their elections. But these 4 departments, they needed a little extra to offset their overages within their departments to keep them within budget, so that's what those represent. We are able, glad to tell everybody, we have a new revenue source that we just found out about this in June, interest income. Once the interest income hits $97,100, the school receives the amount up to that amount, then it goes to the county. So in prior years we haven't been getting anything, but our investment income is now up, so we are now getting money. This year alone I'm getting about an extra $70,000 that we've never budgeted. So that's, I'm using $48,000 to cover those overages right there. The next one is the county buildings. We went ahead, the van that you all surplus, I think it was, might have even been at the June 5th meeting or the one prior, we went ahead and sold that. Didn't get a lot of money, but we got almost $800, and we're just moving around some other line items. Mayor was able to work and look at gov deals, and we found a good maintenance van that we went ahead and purchased with the savings we had in other line items. The third one on that page, that is, this is a program that came about in June. It was the Credit Recovery Summer School Program, I hope I'm saying that right, but basically where the school had a few officers that worked in the schools, they paid us, or they're reimbursing us $30 an hour plus the benefits and TCRS employment costs. So that represents the small cost there. It was $19.20 in wages plus the benefits and taxes. And then the last one on the page, here again, In addition to the one I showed you earlier, this is another 60,000 I'm up in that medical and dental, just because we know we have a lot of medical bills that are being, our jail and our sheriff's office, they'll negotiate a lot of the bills, so a lot of them are still under negotiation. We're just waiting to see. So we had a very good increase in the state inmate reimbursement, so I'm going to go ahead and increase 60,000 on that revenue source to cover any overages. Any questions on any of those? Page 4. First one, the EMS. EMS did have some overages in their personnel, fuel, which, I mean, fuel was expected. Across the board, we saw increases in fuel. And their debt collection services, this is the people they pay to actually collect on the debt that when we send out the patient charges bills for the EMS. So there was an increase in payroll, but there was also a huge increase. We switched over mid-year. You all had approved a new collection agency. Greg Bear has been working with that group. We've been very successful with them. Our revenue is up probably about 150,000 right now compared to budget for the year. So I'm taking 80,000 of that to cover his overages that he had. And then there's also an insurance recovery. We had 2 vehicles in June that had some damage. We're getting back $14,000 from our insurance company on those. Next one is the medical center awning. As Commissioner Dortch mentioned to me, this guy's been going on for a number of years now. We did a bid in May. The medical center did the bid. Ryan Engineering is the engineer. There were no bids, so they had to rebid it, which just occurred yesterday. I haven't heard the results of the bid, but I do know we at least had one bidder, so hopefully this thing will get going. But as of right now, we have about $20,000 in engineering costs that will be paid out in this year, and then I have to move the rest of the money into next year. So this one right here is representing me pulling out $140,500, and then you'll see one later in 23-24 putting it into the next year. So as long as the bid was successful, then we'll go ahead and hopefully get that construction started here in the new fiscal year beginning July. The third one there is the library. That is the summer reading program, just additional donations they received to offset program expenses. The next one is trustees commission. This is a good thing. The trustees commission has been up, but when the trustees fees go up, the commission goes up. I'm sorry, fees have gone up, but the commission goes up. So there's just basically netting out each other. And then the transfers out at the bottom. This is something I do every year just to cover us. Right now, I'm guesstimating we're about $130,000 to the good in sales tax. So this is just covering, because we are changing the sales tax come the new fiscal year, but this is the last year that we're going to have to do this, where basically when the sales tax goes up, that increases the amount that has to be transferred over to debt service based on the old calculation that we finally changed come the new fiscal year. Any questions on any of that for 101? Next page, pretty simple, just a small $50 just to cover increase in trustees commission on the drug control fund. That's the one at the top. And then the one at the bottom, the first one is just basically a reclassification per state audit. Wanted us to use contributions, not the transfers out. And then the last one, there again, that is the revenue that we received. We had to do it a little different. We got that revenue last year, but the way state audit did it is we had to put it in the fiscal year that we did the reporting as far as the spending went. So that's why we had to put it into this fiscal year, although technically we got the cash last year. And that is it for 101 on the current fiscal year and my others.
Motion approved.
Highway can do next.
Motion to approve. Second. That's that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Highway fund, Ronnie, you want?
No new money, just moving some out of our bridge construction over to the advertising, had to do some more bidding and, just moving money around, but no new money.
Motion approved.
Second.
Any questions on it? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, Ron. On 121, school system.
The first page first 6 amendments represent new money that wasn't originally budgeted. The first one is investment income. We were overpaid by the county in investment income, and we're moving that $38,000 to return it back to the county. The second one is a TVA grant. That was spread between 3 of the schools that applied for the grant. Third one is a insurance payment for the North Stewart gym floor. It's just offsetting what we've already spent to repair the floor. The fourth one is a TEMA grant. It actually goes back a couple years. They're reimbursing us from expenses we had during COVID, and we moved that into a transportation line. The fifth one is a seatbelt grant reimbursement. We're moving that into the transportation department. If we buy buses with seatbelts now, we get a reimbursement from the state, and that's just one of our reimbursements coming in that wasn't in the original budget. And on the second page, number 6, is an insurance reimbursement for damage, $9,600, and we're putting that into a transportation line as well. The remainder are just moving monies around. They have no impact on the bottom line of the budget. They're just moving money from where we underestimated, or from where we overestimated to where we underestimated. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Are there any questions on that? Do I have a motion for approval? I have a motion and a second. No questions, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Thank you, sir. Let's see, we got 143. Okay, there she is.
That's a cafeteria fund. I was fixing to speak on something I didn't know.
It's our final, of course, the final budget amendment that we had made. We had a freezer that went down, and we had to kind of move some money around to replace parts for that, and that's what that is. That's the final one we got.
Thank you, ma'am. So, any questions? All in favor, say aye. Ms. Heather, I believe it's your turn again.
Yes, sir. The next 2 pages for County General represent, since the 23-24 budget has already been approved June 5th, we don't start that fiscal year until Saturday, July 1st. However, we can start to amend on it. I do realize that this is your first night seeing the new amendments. Most of them, other than the first one here, are either offset with a grant and or just line item transfers. But if there's any that we want to hold, the next time we will meet will not be until August. So I want to try to get any new grants. June has been very, very busy with very large number of grants coming into our office, and trying to get this money in so that the departments aren't held up for spending. So I'll go through it. The first one, Sheriff's Office may want to speak to this, but this is an increase they're requesting for basically to have 4 deputy officers move to the rank of corporal at the rate of $21.50. That cost would be in total $7,400, and that represents the wages increase, the benefits to FICA, and the TCRS portion.
Now, that wasn't included in our deal with the sheriff.
Not the step scale that was approved on June 5th, no, sir.
Ain't the budget already?
My turn talk.
Yes, sir.
What we're trying to accomplish here is, and this has been something that's been ongoing. We have 2 sergeants that are assigned each end of the week. Sunday through Tuesday, and Wednesday through Friday. These guys cover both ends. They cover days and nights. They try to spread their schedules out so you work, they work 12 to 12, or you're working 12, 2 to 2. So we've got gaps. We've got gaps when we don't have supervision. We have no one out there that can make a decision. And I was just recently reading a Supreme Court ruling where an individual went after a law enforcement entity, and the 2 things that they go after you are failure to supervise and failure to train. So by putting these corporals and getting them some training, feel like we can do the training inexpensively, we can do it free. LEIC through the University of Tennessee has first line supervision training, and we can do that. If it's a dark class, and that means it's free. Just relieve some gas and get these guys there. But at least by doing that, if we can put a corporal on each shift, that's day shift, night shift, then we've got 24/7 supervision. They still would answer to the sergeant, but when the sergeant's not there, then they can step in and make a decision when there is no one there. And that's the reason. I know y'all have been more than generous with what y'all done for us, but I just feel like that we can either pay $7,400 now, or if an incident does occur, that we, for some reason, somebody wants to attack us and file a suit against us, then we're talking way more than $7,400. And like I said, it'll give us 24/7 coverage. These guys can make a decision. They won't have to call the sergeant when he's off. Won't have to call me, which they can, and trust me, they do. But that's the reason we're trying to get this done.
Y'all do know this when we were.
Well, we've been fighting this, sir, for, it's something that's been ongoing, and, you know, just feel like this is the time that we need to get this fixed.
Let's ask this question. If he needs or they need $7,400, okay? Is there not possibility of, they need to do this, they can do it, I guess they can. Can they not work in their current budget to try to come up with this money? Pull it from some other source?
We've got 2 vacant positions right now that we haven't been able to fill yet. And I don't know, right now, we thought we were going to get a new officer in the July Academy. That's been bumped to October. So I don't know if we've still got 1 position we've got to fill. And I don't know, it may be after the first of the year. Right now, Caletta is free. So, you've got to try to get your paperwork into post, and if they don't vote on it, that's what happened to us this time. We thought we had our paperwork in on time to get him into July Academy. Come to find out, post didn't vote on it, and we didn't get him into October. So if we don't get, if we can't get somebody hired, get all their paperwork to post, so they can vote on getting this individual in, it may be after the first of the year before we can even get someone in the academy to fill our other vacant spot.
So to answer your question, for the current year, like let's say there was one of the 22 deputy officers, it wouldn't be starting until October, is that what you're saying, Chief?
That's correct.
So in this fiscal year, that would probably offset the 7,400, and we could do it as a line item transfer instead of taking in monies. But just keep in mind that if you start the new year on 7/1/24 with 22 officers, you still have that added expense. So you can cover, I feel confident, with what he's saying, that it'd be no problem for this year. It's just that any vote you make, that is reoccurring money. I just want to make sure everybody's aware of that.
I'm not opposed to what you want to do, but I don't want to give you money at this point in time. If you can work it out where you can be working your current budget and pull money from positions you haven't filled,
And
more power to you.
We've got 2 right now.
Okay.
Like I said, we're looking probably first of the year before we get the other. Now, granted, certified deputies make a big difference, and we don't have to send them to the academy. But with everybody around us and all the money that they're paying out, our odds of grabbing a certified person is slim to none. It's a possibility, but
Well, my whole thing is, we worked on this budget for 4 months. 4 months. Got it passed, everybody was happy. And then boom, here we are again, at the 11.5 hour.
well, like I said, Mr. Teeger, we wrestled with this, and I just feel like it's something that we've got to do at some point, and I thought this was the easiest fix, to get us supervision out there 24/7. I thought this was the least expensive way to do it, and it would save us and the county ultimately, should an incident happen. If we get in a pursuit at 3 o'clock in the morning, then we'll have somebody there that can make a decision of whether to call it off and whether or not. And if there's a crash and this individual gets injured, then at least we can say we had somebody there that could make the call. And right now, there's times we don't. And then we ain't talking $7,400, we're talking millions.
So you
And
think
we've
we got,
been,
you
and we've
think,
been lucky, don't get me wrong, I think we've really been lucky with this, but, you know,
you think you've got the money in there to cover it this year and then?
as long as, you know.
What I wanna know is that, are you gonna go ahead and do the line item, the transfer and let them pick up the money and then?
That's what it takes, and I would say that's what we'll do. But I just think this is something that's gonna help everyone, not just the sheriff's office. But I hate to put somebody in that position and not give them some type of fund, because we are adding responsibility to them. So,
And you work with them, try to work out some kind of transfer in the current budget.
If it's the current budget, I mean, you could,
Is that something that we have to approve?
I mean, you could right now say and change the line from 3900 unassigned to 54110 deputies, and he's gonna take it from his current deputy line item for the fiscal year.
Well, all that. That's not too much.
That's not, it would just be a transfer.
Okay.
If the sheriff's office agrees to that.
And then whenever they have to hire a deputy, like by January, you can come back and.
It's what you'd be fine this year, because if he's not able to hire, he's got 2 positions open, so if he's not able to hire somebody till at least October, you've already gotten probably almost 7,400 savings from just that one, and then the second one not till January, you're definitely gonna have the savings this year. It's just that if you end June 30th, 24 with all 22 officers, you are higher than what you started based on the existing. Does that make sense?
What you're saying is that if they go ahead and make these people corporals, then on next year in the budget time, then we will have to make up that difference.
Yes, I
The
mean, they
savings
can't,
won't be there.
unless they have an open position, they can't
Sure.
do the same thing.
I got you,
Yeah.
I got you. I understand.
Do I need a motion to do what she says? With 501?
Change the 3, let's just say for the record, it's changing the line item, the very first line item, unassigned fund balance, 101-39000, to deputies, 101-54110-106, which is pretty much the same place they are. It's just,
Y'all got that?
yeah.
Margie, you got that wrote
Y'all
down?
got that?
Margie's got it, that's
I
right.
guess that's,
Do I have a motion to approve that?
Yes, I'll make the motion.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second now. Is there any other?
They're saying that it taking any new money out. There won't be no new.
They'll use what they've got in their line until
Won't be
they,
no new money this year.
yeah, we'll have to give them some next year.
Next year, it could be.
When they will have.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
We've got to get to next year first.
we gotta get to this year.
We gotta get this year going.
All in favor of this motion, say aye.
Are you okay?
This year. Sorry.
You okay with it?
I'm fine.
Will line item transfer?
Yes.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
one other thing is we'll change our numbers, but it will change our maintenance inspector, because we will add this corporate position in there, we won't change our numbers, it would just change our maintenance inspector a little bit, just for some wording.
Just the wording, not the
Just
dollar amount,
Not
yes.
the dollars and not the numbers, it's just the wording.
Instead of so many deputies, it'll be 4 corporals and 4 less deputies.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you.
On the second one, this was something that was just overlooked, and I'll take responsibility on this one. There's 2 clerical personnel in the sheriff's office, so when we were doing the budgets, the sheriff's office, as you know, had their own, they were not looking at the 5% or the 10% COLA, they were looking at doing something completely different. Well, that affected all employees for the sheriff's office and the jail, with the exception, it even affected their part-time personnel, but it did not affect the 2 people who are on not a sheriff's office step scale, but a clerical step scale, similar to like the courthouse or the mayor's office. So those 2 people didn't have that added 5%. We can offset it with the new revenue source that we know, the interest income, but that's just a correction on that to get them that 5% COLA that was approved for everyone else. The third one, this is, got a bunch of new grants here going down the road. This is a grant that we had about $54,000 this year we used for equipment. The state is then giving us another $25,000 starting on 7/1. It's the VCIF formula-based grant, and it's used for various law enforcement equipment, 100% reimbursed. There's no match for the county on that. The fourth one on the page here, another VCIF. This one I think we've spoke about. In fact, I think the mayor might have spoke about this a little bit last time. This is the large grant for the radio system. So Clint Mathis, the EMA director, has been working closely with the sheriff's office on that new radio system and was granted. Chief Ward did a lot of the application process, and that $600,000 was granted to the county, 100% match. I mean, 100% no match. And basically, Clint right now, Clint Mathis is working on the bid specs. We may have to come to you where he's up to about 50 pages in the bid specs. We're at the point where we're going to have to seek legal or a little bit of expertise to make sure, because this could be about $1 million project. The 911, I think, is going to kick in a certain percentage, and then we'll have to look at the difference. But luckily, we have a huge portion of it being offset with the grant. But once we get to that point, it'll take us another month or so to get this bid specs all fully. But that is a huge radio system affecting the county as a whole. The last one there, another grant. This one, Sam Mills, the jail administrator, applied for this one on behalf of the sheriff's office. It's $325,000. What it is, it's 100% no match. The only thing that we will have to pay is there are bonus payments in there. That is $500 in bonus payments for each of the 29 correctional officers. So the state will reimburse us for that, but the county would be responsible for the FICA taxes, which is at 7.65, and the TCRS portion, which is at about 10%. So not a lot of money, but right now the sheriff could observe that in their current Social Security, Medicare line items, but that will be something that he will have to take. Also, it's $150,000 in supplies, and then another $160,000 in equipment, which is mainly a scanner. This all deals with the COVID grant coming from the federal government. Any questions on that page? Page 12, the first one here is, this was something that was in the original budget. We had $55,000 that was in the EMA budget for a purchase that had been made by Stewart County E911 over the past years. County has to purchase it now, and then 911 will reimburse us. We finally got the actual cost right after we approved the budget on June 5th, and it was just slightly over, so that's the difference, fully reimbursed by the 911. Second one on there, that's the one I was talking about when we just did the 22, that's the medical center. Not only do we have the rest of it, the $140,500 for the medical awning, but we also, the state went ahead and added another $33,000, 100% grant, no match, for various equipment at the medical center. So we'll be working to purchase that as well. Then we have the library. This one ties to pages 13 and 14. This was something I know you've heard from the library director, Gracie Armstrong, on a number of occasions. She had gotten 10% COLA for her budget that was approved on June 5th. What she's asking is to simply, she's got $500 in her normal librarian line for the one employee in there who's full-time but not 37 and a half. She only works 30 hours, so she puts an extra $500 in case that person works extra days. She's wanting to use that plus $100 of her overtime to go ahead and put her two full-time librarians that are 37 and a half, slightly higher. So it's just line item transfers, but it would affect her step scale going forward. So she's asking for that, and you can see on page 13 what she's proposing in the new step scale, and 14 is where she currently is, which was approved on 6/5. If there's any questions on that specifically. If not on that one, the next one down is we got our Tennessee Risk Management Trust insurance bills, and it went up a little higher this year than I think the school got an increase as well. Normally we budget about anywhere from 3 to 5. This year it went up pretty significantly, almost 15%. So we have to offset those new monies. Luckily for the county general, we have that added revenue and interest income that is not budgeted, so I can offset it with that, so it won't affect fund balance. And then the last one, similar to what you saw in the 22, just reclassifying those two line items to what state audit prefers. That would be it for mine. Page 15 is the highway after that.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve this? And second. Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any questions on this?
There is.
I don't think there is.
Yes,
On
sir.
that library, deal there.
Yes, sir.
That means next year we won't have to come up with more to cover what they're trying to do this year, correct?
No, not necessarily, yes and no, it would step, so the step would increase, but she won't have the $500 budgeted anymore in that line item, that will go away, and you could also keep her overtime at $100 less, just like she's moving it now, so that the only increase would have to be those step scales increase, but it will increase just like everybody's gonna have an increase in step scales, so yes, sir.
What you're saying is she won't have the overtime line item to cover that next year.
Well, right now she has $1,000 in that line item, so she's moving 100, taking it down to 900, so we could ask her to stay the same. We could even ask her to go to 800 next year to try to offset what she's doing in this year. There's a number of ways, but, so what she's doing is she's taking 100 from that, and then we would not give her the 500 that's already added to that line item for overage on her third full-time person.
It would be the one to pay.
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, the
Any
two
other
people
questions?
will be higher, but in essence, the money would net, yeah.
Are there any other questions? Okay, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? This is highway budget amendment. Again, great big one.
Go ahead, Greg.
Again, no new money, just moving some money out of workers' comp and putting it into our insurance went up too. Liability insurance and building insurance. And gotta get a new computer, all it's 5 years old, and states it was time to upgrade. And $2,700,000, that's the 100% grant we're getting. So no new money, just moving some around.
Motion approved?
Motion.
Second. Questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thanks, sir. Is there anything else to come before this committee? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second. We stand adjourned.